All right, let's get right into it. If you're holding a California insurance license, you already know your credibility, your livelihood, and yeah, your daily income all rely on one thing: renewing that license on time. But here's the kicker. With the new 2026 updates rolling out, what used to be a simple administrative box to check can turn into a total minefield if you aren't prepared. So, in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how to navigate the California Department of Insurance renewal process from start to finish. Whether you're a seasoned pro or you're coming up on your very first renewal, we're going to make this complex process super clear and highly actionable.
Okay, let's dive into this. A massive 50% penalty. That is the extra financial slap on the wrist you'll get hit with if you miss your renewal deadline. It just gets tacked right onto your standard fee. But honestly, the money is the least of your worries. If you miss that deadline, your ability to do business literally grinds to a halt. Zero new policies, no servicing existing ones, your company appointments, completely canceled. It's an operational nightmare, and we are absolutely going to help you avoid it today.
To keep your business active and completely compliant, we're going to follow this compliance countdown. We'll start with the high stakes of renewal, then we'll map out your exact timeline, master those continuing education requirements, walk through the application step by step, dodge some costly pitfalls, and finally, wrap up with key resources. Let's do this. Section 1. The high stakes of license renewal. It's so easy to treat license renewal like renewing your car registration, right? Just another annoying chore. The crucial point is this isn't just a chore, it's a fundamental business survival tactic. The state regulations literally say that if your license expires, you must, quote, cease all insurance-related activities, end quote. The exact second that license lapses, your legal authority to write policies and even collect ongoing commissions on the book of business you've already built, it just freezes. Everything stops. That's why we really got to get this right.
Moving right along to Section 2, navigating your renewal timeline.
Now, what's kind of wild here is that California doesn't just use a standard calendar year for everyone. Your license term is a 2-year period, sure, but the absolute expiration date is uniquely locked to the very last day of your birth month. Because of this quirky little rule, your first licensing cycle might actually be a bit shorter or longer than exactly 24 months. But from then on, it is strictly tied to your birth month. So yeah, you definitely cannot rely on your coworker's deadline to remind you of your own. Here is the timeline that you really need to internalize. The official renewal window opens up 90 days before your expiration on portals like Circon and Nipper. But check out that 60-day mark. The Department of Insurance highly recommends finishing your continuing education, your CE, a full 60 days early. Why? Because those education providers actually need time to report your hours to the state database. 0 days is expiration. That's midnight on the last day of your birth month. If things aren't processed by then, you go inactive. And if it sits for a whole year post-expiration, the license is fully canceled. Which brings us to Section 3, mastering continuing education requirements. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we need to tackle next. Look, education is usually the biggest hurdle for agents. As a resident producer in California, you are on the hook for 24 hours of CE every 2 years. But let's slice that pie. Out of those 24 hours, 20 can be general lines training, whatever fits your license type. But you absolutely must complete 3 hours dedicated to ethics. And here's the catch. Within that ethics block, the state mandates that exactly 1 hour has to be strictly anti-fraud training. Boom, 20, 3, and 1. That exact breakdown is what the system scans for before they'll even let you process your renewal. Now, depending on your niche, you might have some extra hoops to jump through. Selling long-term care or annuities? You've got specific 8-hour training blocks you have to maintain. Property and casualty? Make sure you grab that 3-hour homeowner's valuation course. Oh, and here's a massive update for 2026 under Assembly Bill 943. While they are actually repealing the old 20-hour line-specific pre-licensing requirement, the 12-hour Ethics and Insurance Code course, that remains completely mandatory for new licenses. This is a huge deal to know, especially if your license ever gets canceled and you end up having to start from scratch. Yikes. All right, Section 4, the step-by-step application process. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that the state actually makes the execution part super simple as long as you follow this exact sequence. Step 1. Always complete and verify your 24 hours of CE first. Don't even start the application until those hours are visibly showing on your transcript. Step 2. Submit the electronic app online through the NIPR or Circon portals. Step 3. Pay up. For major lines in California, the standard fee is $188 per line of authority. Once those prerequisites are handled, it's a really slick online flow. When you're actually plugging data into those portals, they are incredibly strict about matching. Your name and address must be an identical match to the National Producer Database. You'll need your National Producer Number, your NPN, and your tax ID. Adjusters, you need an active qualified manager, and business entities have to have a valid designated responsible licensed producer. But here is the major gotcha I want you to remember. You are legally required to disclose any background or criminal changes within 30 days of them happening. If you have to click yes to a background question during renewal, you have to upload the supporting docs via the NIP or attachments warehouse. Skip that step and your application is instantly delayed or just flat out denied.
Moving to Section 5, avoiding costly renewal pitfalls. The contrast here is just staggering. An on-time renewal? Smooth sailing. Continuous business operations, a standard $188 fee, the system updates, and you just print your fresh license. But a late renewal? Total opposite. You get nailed with that 50% penalty fee we talked about, and worse, your insurance company appointments are actively canceled by the state. Imagine not being able to write policies, having your paychecks delayed, and then having to spend your own time and money begging carriers to reestablish your appointments once you finally reinstate. No thank you.
And this brings us to perhaps the biggest trap of them all. There is absolutely no standard grace period for continuing education in California. None. Zip. It's actually kind of crazy because so many agents just naturally assume they have a few extra weeks to finish their courses after the expiration date. Let me be clear, they don't. If the clock strikes midnight on the last day of your birth month and your CE isn't reported to the state, your license goes into immediate suspension. No exceptions. Let's move to and see how this builds into the ultimate penalty, the 1-year cancellation rule. So say you miss your deadline. You do have up to 1 year to pay the late fees, scramble to finish your CE, and reinstate. But if 1 year and 1 single day passes, your license isn't just suspended anymore, it is completely canceled. To get back in the game, you are starting from absolute scratch. We're talking retaking the 12-hour ethics pre-licensing course, getting new fingerprints, paying initial application fees all over again, and yes, passing the state exam again. That is a colossal headache for a simple scheduling mistake.
And finally, Section 6, Key Resources and Disclaimer.
Here are the official lifelines you'll absolutely want to bookmark. The California Department of Insurance website is your home base, and the CIRCAN and NIPR portals are where the magic actually happens with applications and transcripts. If you hit a wall, like a portal pin issue or a document getting stuck, you can call the CDI at 800-967-9331 or just email them at cdilicensing@insurance.ca.gov. Honestly, they are incredibly helpful, provided you reach out to them well before your expiration date. Quick professional disclaimer before we wrap. This explainer is built to be a comprehensive educational guide based on current state data and the incoming 2026 guidelines. But hey, regulations shift and everyone's licensing situation has its own quirks. So always verify your specific license status, your exact expiration date, and your personal CE requirements directly with the California Department of Insurance or chat with a professional compliance advisor just to be safe. So I'm going to leave you with this. Is your license at risk today? Have you actually checked your continuing education transcripts recently? Please don't just assume you know your expiration date. Go log into CIRCAN or the CDI website right now and double-check it. And hey, if you've ever had to navigate a painful late renewal, or maybe you've got a killer system for tracking your CE hours efficiently, drop your experiences in the comments. Help out your fellow professionals. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Stay compliant, keep crushing it, and go build that business.